Welcome to episode 32 of the New Paradigm podcast. In today's episode, we'll talk about how to stay calm in a crisis, in difficult times. How do we manage to recenter ourselves and to feel at peace within? With everything that is happening, Russia declaring war to Ukraine, and all of this, it's part of this distraction for us to be driven away from our purpose, from what we need to accomplish in this realm. So in this podcast, we will discuss how can we stay grounded and really focus and recenter ourselves when we are being tested by our governments, by our systems. To start questioning the systems that have put us in this situation of distress. So if you first want to start by explaining how a crisis can be a way for us to transform and to grow, and this shift is actually necessary for us to ascend to other states of higher consciousness.
Yes, we are in major times of change, and this definitely really kickstarted during the times of the pandemic in 2020, where we saw all of the systems beginning to crash, so many things coming to the light, so much darkness coming to the light. And the thing is that we are going to be faced with more crisis. And this is why we are talking about this, because as humans, we try to avoid and ignore the hard times. And when we do that, hard times come and then we're not prepared. And then we fear them. So the best thing to do is to acknowledge the changes, accept them, and now we can be better prepared. And crisis is all about opportunity, just as you mentioned. It's a time for us to grow, and what we've been witnessing since 2020 is a major time of crisis because we are being called to grow out of the toxic systems that we have been living, and we are these systems because we are the collective. And this is why many people have experienced an awakening, wanting to change the way that they live, the way that they feel within. And many people have been called to start doing their inner work, because the only way that we can thrive in the long run is we first need to face our shadows and not fear what we don't know, but welcome and see it as an opportunity to evolve. And this is what this time is all about, because we're all in this together. You know, it's not this country or that country, or, you know, I'm more ascended than someone else. We are all on earth. We are all on this planet, and we are all equally affected. But now it's how do we navigate it that makes the biggest difference. And we're seeing so many changes as well with technology, with money, with corporations. And this can bring a lot of fear, because imagine we've been living in a corporate world. We've had, fiat money, which is cash money. We've been in a very centralized, controlled world. And now we're seeing, right, all of these things that are happening, especially we see it a lot in the crypto space, in advanced technology, and all of these agendas that are really like the narrative is pulling people on different sides. And I invite you to look beyond left or right or wrong. But let's see beyond, and let's really understand, why are we experiencing these changes right now? And I would love for you to share more about, these changes that we're experiencing right now within money, right? Decentralization, and even like the metaverse, and all of these people that are quitting their jobs. Would you like to share some insights on this topic?
Well, I feel the greatest example that I can give is the example of our own life. we were freaked out. We also freaked out. You can have a spiritual practice and you can be, you can feel so grounded and feel like, like nothing can touch you. But there's still some insecurities that can remain in you. And when this whole pandemic situation happened, we freaked out. We said, okay, so the thing is that I was in France and we were in the process for me to get my green card to go to the US. And we just thought, America closed its borders to France and France closed its border to the US. So it's impossible for us to actually like see each other, and maybe we're never gonna see each other again. So it pushed us to really see a path outside of this. And for us, it was to just live our old life and go to Mexico and start our online business, and not knowing if it's going to work, but we just trust ourselves and we know we're going to be able to make money. We're going to be able to just build this business from scratch, and it's going to happen. So with this push, we were headed to our future. So I feel like it's also like there are so many people now who are literally living their corporate life to just go into the unknown and just trust that something positive is going to come out of it. So it's really what is happening, and I feel it's great. It can be great because people are led to reflect even deeper on themselves, to reflect, to contemplate on their life. Okay, if this is happening, maybe I should change something in my life. I should reflect on, how do I feel? Do I feel fulfilled with my life? Or what can I do to actually change it, shift it? And with this new crypto money and the market changing, it's a big opportunity for the people. We've seen some people becoming rich, some people creating NFTs and just, like being like millionaires out of it. And this is really happening. And I felt with the different currencies now on the market is giving an opportunity to the people and giving back this power to the people, this power that has been taken by this centralized power. Now we're giving back this power to the people. So we are really like straight living a revolution. We're living a revolution, and we don't even know about that we are living it if actually we are not able to see the codes. We don't see the connections. We are not able to connect the dots. We won't see that we are at the age of this revolution. And we are the leaders of this revolution, us the people who have been deceived by the system. So major shift. And again, we need to learn how to navigate this crisis, because at times maybe we might be feeling that we are missing the tools for us to truly navigate, to ground our energy. So how do we do that? How do we manage to stay calm in a time of a crisis? How do we find this strength within, this drive, by not also trusting everything that is said in the media and out there sometimes on the internet, but really trusting this master within? So can you, babe, give some tools on how can we manage our stress and our trauma responses? Because in a time of crisis as well, we are going to be triggered because so many things are going to come to the surface. So how can we stay really, how can we be this eye of the storm?
It's a powerful question because, once again, as I mentioned earlier, our whole lives, it's like we are trying to avoid crisis. Therefore, we don't prepare for it. And many of us who have had to learn the hard way because we've lived through many crises in our life are better able to handle these times because it's something that we had to experience multiple times for us to build this strength. And it's not fun because, as you mentioned, when 2020 happened, the pandemic, everything shut down, I experienced a crisis again and I went into this fear mode. And the thing that helped me is that I was able to then realize, wow, I am in fear mode right now. And I realized that my stress response it was connected to my traumas in the past. So I began to think about the worst thing possible. I began to think about, just massacre. I'm like things you see in horror movies. I was freaking out. And because I have been doing this work, I was able then to realize that I was in panic mode and that I was beginning to make irrational choices that were fear-based. And I then connected to my higher self. I connected to spirit. And then I remembered, okay, Jess, you've been doing the work. There's no way that everything that I've been doing has not prepared me for this moment. So I needed to reconnect first with my higher self. I needed to reconnect back to God, back to source, and realize that this can't be this scary evil that we see in movies. There has to be another way. So after I realized that I was acting out of fear and I was having a stress response from trauma, I was unable to ground myself, and I began then to, again, get into meditation, calm myself down, my racing thoughts of all the escape plans that I was trying to go through, and realizing myself, I cannot act out of this place, because if I act out of this place right now, this will actually get me into a position that later on I'm going to say, wow, I wish that I would have just taken some time to calm down, listen to myself, and make a decision that is grounded. So the first thing is that we need to become aware when we are acting out of trauma or stress response. And we need to first calm ourselves down. And of course, this is going to be through meditative practices, right? Returning to our breath, returning to the most basic principles possible. Because when we are coming from a place of stress and trauma, we can't fully think. We're not thinking clearly. We're not grounded. And we can make decisions that later on we wish we would have not taken because we just complicated things. So that's the first thing that I invite you to do. Become aware and get into a basic practice to get back into your body, back into this moment, and be able to clearly think things through and do not act right away. Calm down, allow time to go by, and then check yourself, reassess yourself. Okay, how do I feel now? Does this still make sense, right? Does that move still make sense? Or do I just need to slow it down a bit more? Because what happens is that when we rush, we're not really seeing what is being given to us. We're not realizing the gift in the moment because we're now coming from a place of fear. So that's the first steps that I recommend for you to do when you are facing any type of crisis. First, get back into your body, connect to the divine, connect to your source, and know that you are safe. Know that all of the scary things that might come to your mind right now, it's not happening. This is just false illusions. Because when we come from this place, we can really actually become the eye of the storm, and then we can observe everything that is going around us, and we're not moved by it. We're not taking action right away, and we're able actually then to take action at the time that we're meant to. Because if we see it even in scary movies, right? When people act too much out of fear and then boom, they go straight into the trap. But then again, if you don't move when you need to move, then again, you stay in the trap. So this is where we need to learn this and be able to understand ourselves, understand our emotions, and not be driven by them, but knowing when is the right time to take action. Would you like to share something about your personal experience with managing stress and trauma in these times of crisis and what has helped you to be grounded and come back to your center?
Well, I feel like it's all about, just like you said, remembering spirit and remembering this guidance within. Because when we are too distracted with what's happening outside of ourselves, what's happening in our external world, then we can't really know what is true. We can't really distinguish truth from lies. So we really need to connect with our heart and really listen to this inner call. What is our heart telling us? What do we need to do in order to transcend our fears? And it's happening only when we connect with our higher self and we remember there's a bigger design, a bigger purpose. There's something that is driving us, something that is a higher force that is actually watching what is happening, and that we're not condemned to eternal suffering. And with everything that was happening, I was imagining the worst, that we had to purchase land, we had to get prepared, and people would go crazy and would just like food and would start hunting to get food, really some really messed up stuff, because I was really seeing this apocalyptic time. And it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this, because we are the ones who are creating our life. And this is what I want you to, I want to invite you to really reflect on and to really connect with this truth that you are the master of your own reality. You decide for yourself and nobody else can decide for you. And by becoming more conscious of your field, of your energy, coming back to the body, I realize as well, at times we can get so carried away with what's happening around, and then we just losing touch with our physical vessel. So let's connect with our physical vessel. Let's not ignore that we need to nurture this vessel. And we are embodied because, we are embodied because we need to understand some lessons in this realm. So we need to master this physical reality as we master the spiritual realm. So we need to integrate these both dimensions within our life. And as we can connect the spiritual and the physical, we feel so much more grounded and able to navigate through life. So we need to find this balance. And we need to be the witness of this balance. And we create this balance in this world. So the world can be so chaotic, but if within you have mastered this balance, well, you're not going to be disturbed by everything that is happening around you. You're going to be centered in your being. I know I am in this knowingness. So I'm not fearing. Why would I fear? when I trust. So this is what we should focus on. And I've been tested as well the past few years and with everything that has been happening to really cultivate this belief that I have in myself. Because if we don't believe in ourselves, who is going to believe in us? And how are we going to be able to manifest what we want to manifest in our life? It's impossible. It's impossible. This trust in ourselves is going to allow us to stand up for ourselves, no matter what's happening. And we have to welcome the changes. And think about it, sometimes we need to destroy some foundations that were not healthy in the first place. So if this world is crumbling, it's because it was built on unhealthy foundations. And now the people are building these foundations. We are rebuilding this world, literally, through our thinking and actions. So it's time now to rise up and rise above our limitations, this mind limitations. It's time now more than ever. See this as an opportunity to shift your life. If you want to go, I don't know, if you want to go to live overseas, you've always wanted to travel. I mean, like, not right now, it's like harder to travel. But I'm just saying, like, if there are some things that you have always wanted to do and you have never allowed yourself to do, it's time now to do this thing. It's now time to do the things that your soul is truly calling upon.
Yes, and it's so important for us to welcome the changes because when we fear change, this is actually what creates the biggest prison. So in order for us to be set free, we have to set our own self free. And this comes with us going through our own mental limitations, welcoming the changes, because what happens is that when we become a victim to our own false ego, our own false mind, we then create more prison cells within ourselves. And then this creates this resistance to change because we're so identified with what we've known, where we've lived, who we think we are. And right now, this is what is being challenged. Our false perception of our identities that we have built and that we have created this full identity, and we feel that we are this, and if I'm not here or I don't work, I don't pay the bills, I don't go to college, then I'm nothing, then we're going to have a hard time going through and breaking through these times that we are in right now. So right now, the universe, our higher self, the divine, is calling for us to break free from all of these constructs that have become a prison for us, a prison planet. And in reality, it doesn't have to be a prison planet because the matrix is not our enemy. We created the matrix because we are the systems that give it life. But when we realize that we have always had the power, we just gave it away. And we've been reliving these cycles for time immemorial. Now the people are rising. We are waking up and we realize that we create these systems because it starts with us first changing and not fearing to break everything down. Just like you mentioned, right? This world that we're living in now has been built on false foundations, and eventually it's going to crumble because something that is real is solid, but something that is built on lies needs to crumble because then it ruins everything that is on top of it and it's going to be shaky. And this is why we are experiencing this now. So as we welcome the change, we don't resist. And When we don't resist, we can move through the changes, welcome it, trust. Just like you said, trust is so important. We need to trust in the divine. We need to trust in a higher order. Because if we don't have this trust, if we don't have this faith, it's very hard to make it through. And it's going to be really lonely, and it's going to feel worse than it needs to feel. So I invite you to remember to welcome the changes. Welcome anything that challenges your mind, anything that is challenging your ego. Welcome it. Don't see it as the enemy. See it as a friendly reminder that you are beyond these social constructs, and it's okay to let go. It's time. And we're all doing this. You're not alone. We are all feeling the changes. And it's how we perceive it. It is our mindset. If we are fearing it and we reject it, we're going to suffer more. We're going to feel it harsher. But if we can embrace it and we can see it as an exciting time and an opportunity, then we're going to be excited for these times, and we're not going to be resisting and falling into all the fear traps. We're going to see it for what it is. And that's power.
Yes, and I wanted to go back to what you said about being too concerned with material matters. Just as I just need to pay my bills, I need to pay off my debts, and etc. What it does, it's actually keeping us stuck in our root chakra, keeping us stuck in survival mode. And we don't want just to survive. We want to thrive. So are you surviving or are you thriving? Because you have not come into this world to survive. You have come into this world to evolve. And if we are too concerned with material things, at times we can forget that we are here to be this pioneer of change. Thank you so much for listening to us. And if you like this podcast episode, if you truly resonated with our words, please leave us a review and help us reach more people. And share this episode with someone who needs to hear that.